folks? Welcome back to Talkin Badgers. And after a little time off, we're back and ready to catch up on everything that's going on right now at Wisconsin. The basketball program has landed 3 players in the transfer portal. We're going to break down, what those additions bring, what else we'd like to see brought in before the offseason wraps up. Spring practice is underway, about 2/3 of the way through already. We're going to talk about a few things that we're encouraged about and a few things that we're not quite so encouraged about. So let's get after it. Of course, I'm not flying solo. Joining me on the show today are the usual suspects. We got Coop and Ryan back. How we doing, fellas?
Doing pretty good. Like we talked about before the show, had a great Sunday watching the Masters. Incredible golf tournament. So excited to talk some Badgers with the boys. Missing Jay. I know he's probably out there imposing tariffs left and right. So
I thought he was at Fashion Week, but I'm glad the tariffs. Modeling.
So, Ryan, as the captain of the Hartford Guard train, I kind of want to have you open up the discussion on the 3 transfer portal additions.
Hold on. Before we do this, a year ago to the date, this guy was begging for this dude to get his throat slashed and get his job taken from him. Talking about making the tournament's not good enough. Greg Gard can't coach basketball. Now all of a sudden, dude, he's dick riding Greg Gard, Hartford Guard, retweeting every picture of Greg Gard in the Game of Thrones throne that I see. Retweeting every Greg Gard graphic I ever see. But I've been 10 toes down, dude, for Gard for years. And now Ryan's flip-flopping, and all of a sudden he's leading the Hartford Guard train. So, yeah, I'm not salty about it, but I'm not unsalty.
Well, buddy, everybody knows, history knows I've been Hartford Guard for a long time. And like I've said last time we were on talking about, Wisconsin basketball, I've always felt this way about Gard in the program. My 10 toes have been firmly in the camp of keep them. Everybody knows that.
I'm going to fucking lose it.
No, I had a great season, man. I had a different look. I'm not going to rehash, old great takes that I had. But what I was saying before is when I lowered my expectations and just said, hey, this dude's not getting jack shit for NIL. He has to go out there and scrap all his money. He did a great job with what he's given. And until the football programs decides they don't want to be 12 and 13, he's not on, Uncle Ryan's shit list. So by default, bada bing, bada boom, winner. So I like the 3 acquisitions. We'll see how it pans out. I like the Rap Kid. I like Road. They tried to get Road, last year in the cycle?
Yeah, two years ago when he came out of St. Thomas.
From St. Thomas, yeah.
They pursued him pretty hard.
Yeah, but me, I'm a big fan of length. And they added a lot of links so far this offseason. with Rap and Road, Rap and Road, we talking white length, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a law firm if I've ever heard it, dude.
What about you, Coop? What do you like? What about the 3 for you? I know I forgot somebody, but Rap and Road with just
Nick Boyd.
Nick Boyd, yeah.
Oh yeah, probably the best player out of the 3.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
Played in the Final Four. As a freshman, I think.
The left-handed shooting thing, it's gonna have to grow on me, Coop.
Love me a lefty, dude. Shout out Michael Red.
Gard has a lot of lefties over the last couple of seasons. A lot of offers gone out to left-handers. He's changing something up here.
He's like
anything.
He's like Bill Belichick, where he just Bill Belichick always wants a left-footed punter. Greg Gard, we need a left-handed shooting guard. We just need one for the squad. But no, I know we haven't talked, I think, since before the Big Ten tournament. Great season by the boys. Obviously disappointing the way it ended. They fought their ass off in that BYU game to even make it a game. Couldn't be more proud of that team. I'm going to miss the team. I shed tears. I'm not going to lie. I cried when that team, seeing those guys on the court for the last time hurt. I don't think I've cared about a basketball team this much since the Final Four runs. And, players who've just they were Badgers. Klesmit, Gilmore, Big Steve.
So,
yeah.
Kamari,
So it's
all-timer. Got to give Marcus over a little love for
No, for sticking it out, dude. Yeah.
Greenest light of all time is leaving the building.
Yeah. But so no, it sucked. It was bittersweet. It was a great season. Wish we could have went further, but BYU is a good team. Not ashamed losing to them. But as far as the portal goes, love how active we've been early. Let's get shit figured out. We're not waiting. Greg Gard ain't waiting around. And with Roadie, I guess I don't know how exactly to pronounce it, but I mean, what do we got? A 6'6" combo guard basically, who shot 41% from three. Kind of struggled his first year at Virginia, I do believe, but bounced back. Has some bounce to him too for a white boy, which I'd love to see at 6'6". Nick Boyd, like we already said, the Final Four, the pedigree, left-handed sharpshooter. Like he's gonna bring that John Tanji kind of veteranism. That's probably not even a word, but I'm using it. Veteranism to the team.
I wasn't gonna play on it.
But like a guy, like he's been through some shit. He's been to a couple schools, been to a Final Four, like been on some really good teams. I think he's when shit gets tough, I think he's a guy who's going to be able to help settle the team down. And then Austin Rapp, a guy who's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. What was he, the WCC Freshman of the Year? Made 85 3-pointers. And then when I read the stat that was more than Big Steve and Nolan Winter combined, I was honestly shocked. Like I couldn't believe they didn't make 85 combined. So that kind of surprised me. But to get a guy like that and just watching his film, dude, they're running to him off pin downs, like pick and pops. Like they're running plays for him to shoot like 35 footers. It's fucking insane.
It's super unique for somebody his size, to be utilized like that.
Yeah. Obviously, the concern is to me with him, like, big guy, but like rebounding, low post defense. We'll see how that goes with him in Winter. I think we need to add another more kind of true center to the mix, kind of more like Steve. I mean, Steve could shoot it, but he's a guy, you get him the ball on the block, and he wasn't the best rebounder, but he could rebound and block some shots. So we need more of that. Where I think Rapp's kind of more, stretch four. Where I mean, and maybe Winter's going to play the 5, but these days basketball is kind of positionless when you're talking between like power forward, center, and your shooting guards, your small forwards. So, no, I love what we're doing. Obviously, a big thing is going to be John Blackwell. We all kind of assume he's coming back, but you never know. So yeah, we'll see. Like I love the direction the team's moving in. I think we need 1 or 2 more guys to really solidify this roster, and we'll see moving forward. I mean, at the beginning of this year, Dylan, I think we were doing a football show, and you called in to me, Ryan, and Jason after the scrimmage, and you were like, "Yeah, the basketball team is way worse than you guys thought this could be." And it turns out we had one of our best, or most favorite, I guess, seasons ever.
I walked out of the Kohl Center that night thinking, what did I just see? And it just so happened it was their first time running with that lineup, but it looked the part. Yeah, I was nervous.
So, like, to go from that point to where we are now, I couldn't be more excited. Sounds like Greg Gard's got a little more money to deal with this year, which is well deserved. And I'm just stoked. Like I'm still like in basketball mode. Like I'm all in on like what's happening in the portal for the boys. And
portal season's pretty nonstop. It keeps the cycle fresh. So. I mean, in general, I want to definitely touch on, you guys made the point of how quickly they've put it together. And I think that is a direct reflection of, some of the financial backing they have now that they didn't, a year ago. In a lot of cases, when you get a priority target on campus, if they leave without committing, at least in basketball in the portal, like more often than not, you're not landing that guy. And, that's the exact opposite of what happened with Rapp. He ended up leaving. He went on his visit over to Oregon, and still ends up coming in. Like I really like what they have done, and I definitely see the vision here. Like
also, not to interrupt you, but just speaking of like that Rapp visit, protect Sharif Chambliss at all fucking costs. That guy needs a blank paycheck, dude.
He's a good recruiter. He has a pretty high impact, especially at the in-state level as well. But I can appreciate what they're doing, to touch on like the John Blackwell thing. It's his dream to go to the NBA, and with the way that they've formatted it, there's absolutely no downside in him pursuing that, receiving feedback from scouts at the highest level.
No.
We're going to tell him exactly what he needs to work on, and I presume he will come back and slot in, alongside Rhodey and Nick Boyd. And I think that it works on a few levels, because Boyd is a high assist to turnover ratio guy. He's someone who can shoot the ball. Like he's got a really quick change of direction. He's a lot quicker of a guard than we've had in a little while.
Can rebound for his position too.
Yeah, I mean for all three of Boyd, Blackwell, Rhodey, all of those people are capable of initiating the offense, and I think that's really exciting. To be able to get up and run the floor, and then kind of pair that with two stretch bigs that can pull their defender away from the hoop. Like I see the vision. They're clearly all in on offense, and I think there's a lot to work with here. Obviously, there are still pieces that are needed, but right now with what they have been able to bring in, I've been really encouraged. I think Wisconsin was able to beat out North Carolina for a priority guard. I think that's
which is wild.
I think that's no small feat. They were able to lock him up. This is somebody who was sitting at the top of their board. They got it done. You mentioned Rapp's got the extra years of eligibility. I don't want to generalize too hard, but sometimes the international prospects do have they're maybe sometimes just as likely to stick around as an in-state recruit, which I think is something we're starting to see from Wisconsin. Them really leaning into in-state international a lot more. We got Rhodey's got the in-state ties, but I just think it's a really fun group. I see the vision here with what they're trying to do offensively. Defensively, I think there are certainly some concerns, but Gard's also made it pretty clear that defense isn't quite as high on his to-do list as it used to be. But there's an expectation that that they'll find their way in time. I think that the standards are still high, but I think there are some defensive questions here for sure.
Yeah, but we had the same questions about John Tanji the first couple games of the year defensively, and then look at him towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think as long as you've got guys who
I think we can coach. I think we can coach up defense.
You can get there.
Yeah, we can coach up defense. And my philosophy in basketball is you can always hide one bad defender. So as long as he can put the ball through the hoop, we can hide a bad defender if we need to.
Well, and a lot of it too is effort based. Like how much effort are you going to put in? Like
defense is 8% effort probably.
Exactly. So by the time you get to when the games count, like you kind of know where guys are going to be. You're going to know where your liabilities are. When I think about defense and like you were talking about the bigs and the guards and how this is going to, like, I know I kind of joke about this a little bit because I love calling him Gilly Lock and all these different things. I truly wonder, like, that's to me is the biggest hole right now is like, who's going to be, not that he was like the biggest enforcer, but he was the guy that was like he was like a glue guy. Like he wasn't going to let shit slide from the other teams. He was going to get you a couple buckets. He's going to play hard. He's going to be able to guard all five positions. Maybe not the greatest.
Good shot blocker.
Good shot blocker for his size. Good closeout. Just good effort. Yeah. Like who's that guy going to be, and is he on the roster right now?
I definitely
he is.
He is, and I think it's I think it is a major concern for me too, especially at that 4 spot. Just call it a forward. I think that it's got to come.
I think that guy's on the roster.
I mean, I assume.
I think his name's Jack.
It's going to be Jack. Yeah.
I'll say 6'6". How tall was? They're about the same height, right? They're gonna
Gilmore is like 6'7", 6'8". What's Janicki? 6'5", 6'6",
6'4". Right?
No,
so he must have got the good bumps. I think he's listed at 6'6". I never seen him in the wild.
Because Blackwell's listed at like 6'3".
I mean, by that standard, Kyler Murray's 6'2". So
yeah,
I'll be honest. Like I think there were a lot of people who were really disappointed to see Xavier Amos leave, and in a lot of ways I get it. He was improving as the year went on. He played some of his best basketball down the stretch. There's a lot of athletic upside, but I'm gonna be honest. Especially because it's the portal era, I view it as an opportunity. I still think. I think you can get somebody potentially who can come in. I mean, I don't know how much his role was going to expand. It certainly was with Gilmore leaving. Like he was going to probably become a 15, minute a night guy, but I don't know that this team with the amount of scoring that they have is going to require somebody with his green of a light in those 15 minutes. I would be fine with somebody, I don't want to use Gilmore necessarily as the example, but just somebody who can come in, play that role, like Ryan said, kind of be that enforcer, just allow you to stagger your bigs. I think that's one of the things that Carter Gilmore did so well was allow, Winter and Crowell to be staggered and have their minute. Like we always had one of our bigs fresh because of him and what he was able to clean up defensively. And I think that's going to be really hard to replace. And so I'm with Ryan. I think that's a spot just in general, somewhere in the front court. I think they need to make another impactful addition.
My thing with Amos was just, I thought it was hilarious. The last time we talked, we threw out the question, like, what is he, like a 5-minute a game guy? And then the next game in the Big Ten tournament, I think he had like 15 points and hit like 4 threes.
He played great on the stretch. He really did. He improved a lot in his time in Madison. For as much of a disappointment as he was on paper, given the expectation, there were times early in the year where I questioned whether or not he could be on the floor.
Could play.
And at the end, you could see it. He was still thinking, the game wasn't coming to him as naturally, but he took to the coaching and ended up being, an impactful player off the bench. And
so
is he
with Loyola now?
Yeah, he signed with Loyalty. I thought that was a nice spot. Okay. Valentine's, a good coach. It's a mid-major. It's his hometown. He wants to be a role.
I did not know he was from. Yeah.
I think it checks a lot of boxes for him. Like for me, I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I would say Amos is Marcus Ilver if Marcus Ilver ever made threes.
That's I
mean, Marcus Ilver.
I would have described him a different way, but yeah.
Very similar games for sure. Those guys had some of the greenest lights I've seen for guys sitting at like the 9 and 10 spots in the rotation.
I don't know where they get those light bulbs from. They never dim. They never turn off. They're 24/7, 365.
Imagine putting those two like pictures next to each other and all their like athletic stats, like vertical jump, height, reach, and all that, and be like these two are the same player.
They literally comp out as the exact same. So Ryan, obviously you had mentioned the Gilmore minutes and kind of role that need to be replaced. Is there anything else that you're trying to see this team add? They've got a little bit of flexibility here. I think it's worth noting that yes, the rosters are trimmed down to 15 for the year. It's no longer 17, but Wisconsin will be proceeding using 13 scholarship spots.
Yeah.
Spots. So they do have a little flexibility yet. But what else are you looking to potentially see them add?
Well, as long as Isaac Gard's still on the end of the bench. I mean, if we lose Buddy, I mean, we're losing
GPA guy.
Big GPA guy. I'd like to see them just add probably just overall depth. I was having this argument. Well, I guess not argument. I was having this discussion the other day with people about like in football, like it's hard because you can when you try to do like portal flips and all that kind of stuff, like you can lose a lot of your culture, a lot of your foundation. But with basketball, it's so easy to just kind of flop out your parts. Everybody comes from an AAU circuit and all these different teams. And from different teams, they get used to playing like a year here, a year there, a year everywhere. That it's like, I'm fine if this roster wants to turn over. So it's like, I'm looking at how many acquisitions they made already. Like, I wouldn't mind bringing another couple guys in here. And then, if some guys get disgruntled and they want to transfer out, that's fine. I think there was a time that when Jay was here, we all four were here and we were talking about how, I think it was like going into 2 seasons ago, we were having the conversation about they need someone that's just going to be a rim protector and do that and come off the bench. And I remember, Dylan, you were saying that it's like, it's hard to sell a guy on the bench. And it's like, Gard will like tell like, these are the starters. This is the role we're looking for. But I feel like now with, the kind of revolution that he's done on offense with Kirk Penny and all this kind of stuff, he seems more, and like you said earlier, it was kind of like defense isn't as prevalent early in the season and we'll figure it out. It kind of seems like his philosophy has also changed where it's like, I'm just going to play the best guys. Like if you've been here for 10 minutes or 10 years, If you're the best, you're getting on the floor, and that's going to determine who plays at the end, who's our starters, and who's our finishers. So I think just keep adding to it. I think they should try to get at least 6-7 starters and let it kind of shake itself out. So I think the biggest thing that I'd want to try to get is just more depth in general, because you're only going to be as good of a team as if you have people pushing the people ahead of them. So it's like whoever number, I don't know if Janicki's 6 right now or Rhodey's 6, who's your 7, 8, 9 that are going to push those guys to make them stay on the court, or are they going to kind of just tailor it back?
I couldn't agree more with you. I think that at least on paper right now, you probably, like you said, you got maybe your 5, and then it's really the questions come on the bench. And it's not that they don't have like potential solutions, but I would love if they were able to bridge it with, a portal ad or another, they've got their eyes on a couple of international guys right now, potentially that could slot in at that like rotation level pretty much right away. I would love for those guys to be in place, and then to kind of have those back end development pieces like, Greppe's back and Will Garlock coming in. I think those are guys that I would love to not have to be into a role next year, but if they were to, force their way in, great. Like I think you still have to have those guys, a Jack Robeson who can maybe take another step and maybe just be on the outside looking in. Like I think that they have some really intriguing pieces there. I think Kinzinger has a chance to play right away next year. Even Hayden Jones is really unique.
I was just about to say, that's a 6'7" dude from New Zealand, right?
Yep.
Hayden Jones. Yeah.
He's a really interesting piece. Not maybe
he's
the
30,
best
right?
shooter, but he's pretty athletic. Point forward type. We don't really have. I mean, I guess we have Rhodey, who's maybe fits that bill a little bit, but I don't unique piece. But I would love a little bit more. At least one, if not 2 guys that I felt like made sense as rotation guys, and then had the rest of them, like Ryan said, pushing kind of for some of those roles. And I think I'd feel better about just the overall depth of the team.
Yeah, I would just like some more athleticism, some more vertical jump, some more swagger. That's what I would like to see on the team.
Less hard hat, lunch pail.
We don't want the first one in. They can be the 6th or 7th one in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think we're all on the same page there. Seems like a logical pivot point.
The coach's kid's friend.
So with basketball kind of still in full swing, there's still going to be a little bit happening here with the next, now that the dead period is done. But football has got their own dead period that's about to be lifting here in the transfer portal, going to be opening up pretty soon. So now that we're 2/3 the way through spring football practice, kind of figured, we obviously have a lot of catching up to do, so we can kind of minimize the topics here by just talking about, a couple of things, couple of positions in general that have left us encouraged with kind of some of the news and notes that have been pouring out. Coop, want to start with you. Is there a position group in particular? Is there a storyline in particular that, through the first 2/3 of spring ball that has left you feeling better about a position group, or just better about the team in general than you did, prior to practice opening up?
I mean, I think the big and maybe the obvious ones, everything we read about the quarterback play. It just sounds like, and like I said, I've been more basketball mode than football mode. I've been trying to catch up lately as much as I could. But it's one, it sounds like the offense, and I guess you would assume changing coordinators, was completely revamped, like a completely different Wisconsin football team. But everything I've read, like our boy Billy Football is looking pretty sharp out there. And you get him a line, we're going to talk about this later, but you get him a couple fellas who can protect him. Hey, you never know what he can do, because at Maryland, wasn't he like the least protected quarterback like in the nation or something? Dude, like that?
It was so bad. I could dig into one of the stories I wrote, but I want to say that the sacks allowed was like somewhere, they were like 120th or something. Their like run blocking grade was just dismal, like 98th or worse.
Yeah.
Like, he had a terrible offensive line at Maryland. So,
but just
competent offensive line play would probably do a lot to elevate something.
Yeah. No, but for me, just like seeing in spring ball, like there being good reports about the quarterback play, Like I feel like that's been lost for years. Like I don't know. It just feels a little different, I guess. And I think part of that's the offense, but I feel like every day I'm reading a tweet where it's like, oh, had a great throw down the sideline for 55 yards for a touchdown. Or in the red zone, red zone drills threw 4 touchdowns in a row, only 1 incompletion. Like,
yeah, it's amazing what play action would do for you, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm just like, not that I'm all in, but I'm a little more in on the quarterback play than I thought I would be this year. Just reading through everything with spring, and I will say, I'm going to buy in on Jeff Grimes. I'm going to say it right now. I'm buying in on fucking Grimesky. Now, do we win more than 5 games? Who knows? But I really think we're going to like the offense we see the first couple of weeks of the season, and it's just going to take us a little throwback Wisconsin football mixed with a little bit of the new age college football. Obviously, the air raid, we were all excited for it. It didn't work out, but yeah, to me it'd just be quarterback play, just because the past couple of years have been so fucking abysmal. Where it's like reading the spring reports and like, hey, our quarterback had like a 70% completion percentage today at practice. It's like, dude, yeah, we're so back. Like,
yeah, and then you realize every pass was thrown at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that just some of the things that Billy Edwards Jr. has been able to do so far has been really encouraging. He seems like a guy who's a consummate professional, understands the role, strong leader, big relationships guy. He's someone who I think has. I might have said this to one of you guys even recently, but I think that he has a chance to be somewhere closer to what they thought Mordecai would end up being.
I think it's, you and I were talking about this in my apartment the other week. Yeah.
I think that it'll look something like that. I don't know that the numbers are going to be anything too crazy, honestly. I probably still would see 20 or less touchdowns, given the competition. But I think that his being a solid quarterback and someone who understands the system and has just been around the block and can get people where they need to be, but also, he's I kind of view him as like a game manager who has playmaking ability, and I'm great with that. As long as Grimes is kind of utilizing as much pre-snap motion and some of the different things that he's doing.
Especially like talking about Mordecai, it's like, okay, we needed something new at the football program, or for the football program, when Longo came in, or when we got Mordecai, looking at all his stats prior, it's like, man, we're about to have a quarterback who's going to throw for 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. And what did he throw for? 12 touchdowns, maybe?
I think 9.
Maybe. Yeah, so like
he missed some time, but it was
crazy. If Billy Edwards throws fucking 17 touchdowns and like 6 interceptions, sign me up.
That's exactly what I'm hoping for, truthfully. Like I don't think that Billy Edwards Jr. respectfully is a guy who probably has a level way beyond that. He could certainly be more than that, but I don't know that there's something way beyond that. But I also don't know that this team needs him to do that to be more competitive late in games than they were a year ago.
Yeah, if you're talking about 17 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, if he had 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, that's the same output that Tennessee got from Nico Iamaleavin, and still went to the playoff last year.
He wants $4 million.
Yeah, so if you get Edwards for less than that, and you get that same production, I mean, you got to run to the bank. But first things first, I know his Billy Edwards' parents probably they named him as a junior. It's a lovely name. It's a government name. But I'm sorry, if you are ice fishing wearing a Carhartt with a gold Jesus chain playing football at Wisconsin, it's just Bill Edwards. I'm not doing the whole Billy Edwards Jr. thing all year. To me, he's a Schlitz drinking Bill Edwards, and he's out there to chew bubble gum and kick dicks in, and he's all out of gum.
I know we talked about this before. I'm a Billy, dude. I love it, Billy.
Each their own. I'm a Bill Edwards guy. Like he's
Billy
gonna
Heisman,
ass, and then he's gonna go out and drink some PBR on the back of a tailgate at the lot right behind Camp Randall after the game.
I would love that.
Yeah,
That's
I
our
think
quarterback.
I think we're all on the
Honestly,
same page. A lot to like about
honestly,
those.
if Dylan, we need someone at one of the like post game press conferences or post practice press conference, whether you Ked, somebody. Does he prefer Billy or Bill? I need to know. These are the questions we need answered.
And say, hey, there's some dipshit named Ryan that really wants to call him Bill Edwards. How's he feel about it? Because I don't feel like
media
getting
day,
punched.
local media day. You have my word.
Or is it both? Like, is the Carhartt Jesus chain fishing wearing? Is that Bill? And then on the football field, he's Billy. Like I
And then
need.
he's
Like,
a maniac.
Kind of got
and
that
just goes by
Justin
Bill.
Jefferson alter ego thing going on.
yeah. Like these are the questions we need answered. This is the research I want done from fucking
First
Badger
question
Notes,
asked.
dude.
First question asked, are we riot?
Yeah.
Ryan, do you got anything separate from that? Just that's got you more encouraged today than you were at the beginning of spring?
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, it's like I kind of think of this group kind of like, remember that old meme that they would say, please pray for my friend. Nothing's wrong with him. He's just ugly. I kind of feel like that with the running back room. Like, please pray for them boys. That offense was just ugly for Longo. So I'm so intrigued and encouraged by hearing these Dylan Jones reports, we know what Dupree is, but a couple days ago, I think it was, I think Osen, well, I think everybody at this point was talking about Gideon Atuka getting some big rips in the run game. I've been a big fan. That dude is built like a fire hydrant. And if he could play ball and get some snaps this year, and my boy that I caped up for a lot last year, Cade, first in, last out kind of guy. Yeah. He's still here. So we got 4 backs in a run offense that wants to be violent, that you've seen on the Wireds and the camp series that they put out through the athletic department. They want to be violent. They want to hurt people. They're tired of being soft. And that whole just gets back to the run game. And I am so encouraged on hearing we have questions about the defense, obviously, and it's just spring. But just the idea that we're getting like big chunk runs and we're pounding them. Like, so kind of back to Coop's point when he was talking about he's hearing like about these big pass plays and all that stuff. Yeah, I doubt they're just going 4 wide and making plays like that.
Exactly.
They're trying to stop the run and then just getting gashed, which means why are they trying to stop the run? Because you have to put people in the box, blah, 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 because they're effective at running the ball. I am very intrigued about the running back room, and I'm very encouraged about that room too.
Yeah, I love that. There's one group in particular that maybe not even the group. Maybe I would like to rephrase that to just kind of reflect the starting unit. I think the inside linebacker room has an opportunity to take a big step this offseason. I had someone kind of reach out and share with me that some of the injuries that Tackett was dealing with a year ago, and now being fully healthy and getting that opportunity to slot in as a starter from day one, and playing with his full ability again. I think that him and Christian Allegro next to each other have an opportunity to be really disruptive. I think that they represent an athletic upgrade from what they ran out there as starters for a lot of the year. Obviously, there's no guarantees that come with that, but there's a lot of young players behind them. And so as far as depth, I don't really know what is there, but I think that at inside linebacker, there exists an opportunity, or that there's a world where, with our heavier fronts that we're going to roll out here this year, I think that perhaps that we could see those guys flying around a little bit and making some plays. And so maybe I'm not setting the bar, incredibly high. I'm certainly not claiming any kind of all conference predictions from either one, but I think that the position group went from just being a factory to being average, and for the last couple of years, and I think that we have an opportunity to, exceed that again. And so
average is being nice.
Yeah, those two are maniacs too, by the way. Like just thinking about these two cannons just running in the middle. Like, remember last year when, it was kind of a flop. This kid obviously loved LeBron James, that kid at Northwestern, LaFlop. But remember when that kid was running out of bounds and then Christian was not good? Like, if you're still in bounds, you're getting tagged. Was it the biggest hit? No, but it showed a mentality. And you've seen Tackett, like some of the helmet to helmet, like let me rip your head off plays at USC where he'd get flagged. You have those two
my
maniacs.
favorite high school recruiting film for a defensive player ever.
It's like you have those two maniacs at the size they are, the speed they are, running around on the field. It doesn't mean that they're going to be Sanborn and Chanel. Like, I think probably athletically they're there or surpass that. But those guys are 3-down linebackers in the league for a reason. And it gets back to your factory point. But if I could have two psychos that love to hit and don't care if you're a shoelace from the sideline and are still going to hit you, it might be my favorite position on the to watch this year. It may not be the best, prove to be the best.
You're right.
Those two are going to be must watch. They are going to be hitting.
It might be a stretch, but when he gets on campus, I don't think it would be crazy to see or hear about a guy like Mason Posa come in and push for a couple of snaps somewhere in that rotation. He's another one with just the right amount of screws loose, and I think they have a chance to have some guys that could flash some serious potential.
And my thing is too, it's you need at that position you need guys with screw loose. What did Martellus Bennett always say? I don't want linebackers who eat with silverware. I want linebackers who eat with their fucking hands. No forks or knives. But also, you have to be able to control that. How many times last year I feel like watching Allegro and even Curtis, it's this guy's just out of fucking control and maybe moving too fast. So it's finding that happy medium of being a fucking psycho and wanting violence and wanting that contact and playing until every inch of the whistle that you can, but also honing that in and playing within yourself and not just playing too fast. I feel like that was part of our downfall on defense last year was some of those guys they were just moving too fast for themselves. Well, and not making the right plays.
To quote the wise philosopher and former Arizona Cardinals head coach, one of my favorite of all time, Bruce Arians, he used to say, I'd rather have to tell my guys whoa than sick them. So if we got to just temper it down and play within, I'm fine. We're not talking about going to the national title this year. If we have to get a couple penalties and they get some automatic first downs, restore some juice to the defense and stop being soft. I'll take
that's a great point. Yeah.
This season, we're talking 5-7, 6-6, maybe 8 wins. Buddy, your 15-yarder a game isn't gonna cost you a national title trip. One a game. Let's just go psycho one time a game. Let them know we're not fucking around. We're here to take heads off.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. That's a great point.
So on the flip side, want to start – I think we're just going to attack this one communally. We all very briefly touched on this, but a position group or storyline that has us concerned is the offensive line right now. And that's, I think, for a lot of obvious reasons, that's a position group that we probably did not assume we would be talking about at this point. I think you in general felt pretty good about 3 returning starters, the obvious heir apparent at left tackle for Jack Nelson, being there and Kevin Haywood, and then may the best man win at right guard. I felt pretty good about that overall. And while we don't know the severity yet of Kevin Haywood's injury, we're already kind of seeing some of, the fallout of his not being there right now, what that's left them with. You all of a sudden you're down to, a Leighton Nelson who you brought in the spring last year, who before he tore his knee up and missed the whole year. He's slotted in at left tackle. Jack Nelson's brother Barrett has been out for the spring. You don't have a lot of logical options there. And so for me, it's a significant concern right now if Kevin Haywood was to miss significant time.
100%. And I think that whole side, there's other stuff going on with, other position groups and stuff that can affect blocking in the run game and all these kind of things and, be threats in passing it. I'm worried about, so we talked about earlier, we were talking about running the football, and setting up the play action and the quarterback. If you don't have a good offensive line, nothing is going to work. And like you said, with Barrett out, and we don't know what's going on with Kev yet, and Leighton Nelson still trying to work himself back to playing in the Big Ten after a knee injury for a big fella, which is not an easy thing to do. And then wasn't Bruner missed some time? And Renfro is he's back, but knock on the hardest of wood of all time, he's
Like,
missed time
double wrap that motherfucker. Yeah.
And didn't he play all last year? Didn't he play every snap last year?
Yep.
So I'm, a broken clock is right twice a day. I'm knocking on the hardest wood possible that we have a center all year.
Me too.
But it's like right now we're looking at what Mailman is. The Mallman is like the only guy that you can pencil in and be like, okay, he's because we're still competing for right guard, right?
Yeah.
So
still an open competition there.
Yikes.
Here's a question. Let's say hypothetically Kevin Haywood does miss significant time.
I'm gonna jump off a roof.
And Wisconsin has to pivot. Do you look at a guy like Riley Mullman and flip him? And
no.
Not after 3.5.
I'll tell you this, and I get it was only high school football, and I wasn't that talented. They tried to move me from right guard to left tackle my senior year, and I felt like I was playing a completely different sport. And like I said, I was at a pretty low level high school competition, but Dylan, I think you can attest, I was a pretty decent fucking football player. I mean, first team all conference, Badger North, nothing to scoff at, boys. But having to go, they tried to put me from, like I said, right guard to left tackle. I made it 2 days in practice, and our offensive line coach basically told the head coach, like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, put this guy back at right guard. So and these guys are way more talented than I could ever imagine. But having to go from right tackle to left tackle, that's such a huge change. Like, for a guy who's, say, Kevin is out long term, like, for a guy who's your best offensive lineman, like, I just don't think you can ask him to do that. Like, I don't, and this is going to sound bad, but, like, it's no shame on Mullman. Like, I don't know if he's talented enough to go from right tackle to left tackle. Like,
I also have questions on whether or not he would be a strong fit over there. At this point, part of why I bring it up is I don't know. I think you have no choice but then to go portaling.
You have to.
And what's going to be available and at what cost?
Someone's leftovers.
I think that you would. There just aren't a ton of. I feel like it's unlikely to be a lot of impactful options available for them, and so then all of a sudden, like, is it worth? Like last year, Brunner was someone who they had talked about, like, if somebody went down, that, like, he would have kicked out more than likely to tackle.
Might have to.
Might that be a scenario? Is somebody else? I guess is there an opportunity for someone else to move? Or do we have to use what we have, see if somebody kind of rises and just, or more than anything, just pray to God Kevin Haywood is going to be okay? Because I think that would be a massive blow for this team.
One, I'm praying for Big Kev's health, obviously.
First and foremost.
Yeah. And, like, I can't remember the last time I've been, like, this excited to watch a Badger football player than Big Kev. Like, I was so excited to watch him play this year. I think he's got, like, first, second round NFL potential written all over him. By all accounts, what do you hear? The guy works his fucking ass off. Very smart, hell of a player. I don't know how many articles I read during spring, like, hey, Wisconsin found their left tackle. Like, Kevin Haywood can fucking play. So it just sucks.
One of the highest graded ones too.
Yeah. So sucks he got banged up. I mean, hopefully, like, we're all hoping for the best, Hopefully he just tweaks something and he can be back in a few weeks. Whether it's a few weeks or a couple months, we got a while till the first game. So we'll see what happens. And I know they don't have to disclose injuries during the spring. So we might be waiting a while to hear on this one. We'll see. But say he is out long term, like, I think you have to get someone in the portal. And I think that's going to tell us a lot. Because the portal opens up again, this week for football?
A few days, yeah.
Yeah. And so if all of a sudden we get, 1, 2, 3 linemen in the portal, I think that's going to tell us a ton of the severity of his injury and what they think of the rest of the offensive line.
And that opportunity very well might be there because obviously the portal giveth, but it also taketh away, and there are going to be losses, and they're going to have to unfortunately kind of fill with other people's leftovers. That's just the reality of how this college football is today.
Yeah,
Ryan.
Yeah, I was gonna say college football or NFL. We had talked about it earlier that offense and defensive line and your trench guys, they don't hit the open market for a reason. Whether it's transfer portal or in the NFL, they don't hit free agency if they're high end for they don't hit open market. But yeah, Coop, to your point, ever since I saw Kevin Haywood as a high school player, there was that All-American thing. He threw that dude out the club, and I said, I think I'm in. No, I'm not even gonna finish that sentence.
No, I was in love with the club, dude.
I was like, I'm not gonna love another man's child, but I cannot wait. In the most platonic way ever, I loved watching that kid play football, and I was like, I cannot wait to watch him at Wisconsin, because if he is throwing top end talent out of the club, like
it was nothing,
buddy, he threw him like he threw my 11-year-old.
Yeah,
like see ya. And then the dude got in his face, and he just was like, "All right, whatever, I'll throw your ass."
Yeah, he's all right, pussy. Like whatever.
I was like, this dude has got it. So, yeah, I mean, it's
6'8", 325 this spring. Like,
yeah,
with his
if you see him in the wild,
just love to see it.
Do you see the pictures they posted? The linemen in the weight room. I mean, they had all their shirts off, bro. I saw the one of Kevin Haywood. I almost flipped script for a second. I almost went backwards mechanic. I was like, this dude looks great. Like 6'8", 320, shredded. Like, can't wait to watch this guy play football.
Yeah, and like imagine him like with more weightlifting, more work, like shades of Joe Thomas. Like this
that's not, like, and we even said it, Ryan, before he played a snap last year. It's like this dude projects as like an NFL player, like just by size, speed, pedigree, and then everything you read in spring practice. It's like, okay, like, I feel validated. Like, he's dominating people. And then
you're gonna win football games. They need NFL talent. Like, there's no coincidence that the team who typically wins the conference is going to be the one who has the most NFL talent drafted, and that has not been the realm that we've been in for a while.
And wait till he actually learns how to play the position. And I don't even say that disrespectfully. He's only played left tackle, because I believe he was on the defensive side until his junior year in high school. He played left tackle his senior year. So, yeah, he's kind of new to this whole left tackle thing, and he's already beaten ass. So just wait until he actually, like, knows the job inside and out, backwards and forwards. But I think my concern is, like, when you talk about even the crazy – and I know you're not, like, suggesting it, but the idea is crazy to move Malman over there, because, like Coop said, if he was a left tackle, he would have been a left tackle already, especially after –
after Jack Delson's junior year. Yeah,
I was trying to be respectful. It's the spring. I'm trying to be nice. No, after watching that,
dude.
I'm like, we don't have any other options right now. Even Kevin Haywood. Like, I would take Kevin Haywood on a gurney before I watch, a bunch of holding penalties. But let's say hypothetically, let's just get wild here, and then Blas just says, "Hey, I don't like this job. Let's get fired. Let's put the right tackle at the left tackle. Now, what are we doing on the whole right side? You got all new starters next to Renfro. You know what I mean? So there's you have no continuity on that entire side of the offensive line.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that.
You got a left tackle that's never played the position. You have a left guard that's, I think Brunner's already been out with injury, so he's already kind of nicked. A center who's missed multiple times over multiple years, and then a right guard and a right tackle that haven't probably had a collegiate start. Like, you are F word to the sun. Like, you, ouch, man. We
need Kevin Haywood to be healthy.
Let's just hope like all the reports come back really good, and Kevin Haywood's going to be fine.
I just hope he was like, I just had to like when some players, they're like, oh, I got hurt, I had to take a poop. I'm just waiting for you just had to go take a poop.
My biggest thing is, like I said, I know they don't have to report injuries during spring, but the fact that we haven't heard anything when who was it? Jones got hurt the same practice, or was it Dupree? And we heard immediately, like, oh yeah, he's good. Like, the fact that we didn't hear any, bro, you look at my Twitter search, it's literally Kevin Haywood injury, Kevin Haywood, Wisconsin, Kevin Haywood, Wisconsin Badgers. And I haven't heard fucking anything.
I know they don't have to disclose, but I think the fact that they haven't said it's good, like you don't, like hypothetically, well, I guess not hypothetically. I mean, at the end of the day, if you haven't told me he's good, you don't really have any other options than to think it's bad.
And that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm worried. But I'm praying for the best for the big
That's why we're
fella.
all worried, and prayers up for Big Kev. And Ryan, want to throw it over to you? Or is there any other position group, storyline, etc., that has you concerned, at least more so than you were before spring began?
I think the easy answer is no, but in the effort of content, yes. I don't know if I'm more concerned with the defensive line after spring, other than it's still a concern. We keep hearing, a couple plays here and there, and it's just, we heard the same thing last year, like, oh, Pius making a play, oh, Lowry with the stop in the backfield, oh, Elijah Hill had 4 sacks, and we're gonna build him a statue. Like, this defensive line, man, I know we flushed the position, and that's exactly what you have to do, but I have PTSD. We added Darian Varner, Brandon Lane, Jamel Howard was supposed to be we haven't seen any of these guys make Hank Weber. I mean, I guess he wasn't a force, but we've added people to this position and then never saw them, or they didn't pan out. And it's just like, I guess it's hard because you can't have quarterback hits or sacks in practice, really. Otherwise, you have someone that just lost a scholarship for hitting the quarterback, and they're probably a big dumb dipshit. So I understand you're not having sacks, but it's like, we hear a lot like, oh, great pass from the quarterback. Oh, Gideon Atuka ripping off runs. Not hearing a lot of menaces on that defensive line. And in camp, defense is always ahead. In spring camp, it's true. It's true in my 6th grade league that we played. It's true in college. Defense is always ahead early, and they're getting kind of gutted. I love Atuka. Like, I'm a big fan since he was a freshman. I've dubbed him the fire hydrant. If he's getting if he's getting like 3, I think I read 3 like big runs, and that was after Big Kev went. Like, so who are we running behind? Like, for an offensive line, like no Brunner, no Kev. Who are we running behind where you're getting these kind of gashes with the first team? A little worried about the defensive line, boys.
Yeah, I think that's totally understandable. And until we see it and we see that there's competence there, it's going to be really hard to just show blind faith in that. I appreciate that they've added size, that they're kind of putting some size on the edge. I see what they want to do. I'm hopeful. Obviously, not even necessarily my pick, and maybe it should be, the outside linebacker room has not done a single thing under Matt Mitchell. And so, and honestly, I maybe I'm talking myself into it right now. Maybe I'm concerned about outside linebacker because I think another year of, I think he's a passable player, but like another year of relying on Daryl Peterson, Mason Rieger, I think is really talented, but he's dealing with injuries again. And, after missing an entire year. And so those are 2 guys who I think you're probably looking at as like starters. And so now I'm a little concerned about that. I think outside linebacker is certainly a question mark, especially with how productive they weren't last year. And perhaps some of that had to do with the defensive line. Probably a lot of it did. But I don't know that they're special talents in their own right. So outside linebacker is a bit of a concern for me. And then, maybe I'll just kind of leave it at this. The tight end position has potential to be a major need later this spring. I think at this point, everybody listening has, seen or heard the rumors about Tanner Koziel. Time will tell what direction that ends up going. However, if he was to in fact leave the program, then you're sitting there with Tucker Ashcraft, who I think,
good player.
If he was your number 2 tight end, like he was or is set to be, I feel great about
stoked.
If he is, again, your starting tight end, I don't feel great about that because I think that at best he's kind of a jag as the number 1. And right now, this is has no bearing on the player I think he could be, but a guy like Grant Steck is probably unlikely to come in and play a major role right now. JTC Greaves, somebody who I don't want to see higher than tight end 3. Like to me, if they end up losing a scholarship tight end there, it would be really important that they add to that room, because we'll see how it shakes out. I think there's potential to have that be a major need.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I think, kind of piggybacking off what I said about adding linemen in the portal, like, is going to tell us a lot about Big Kev's injury. Like, if all of a sudden we start adding tight ends in the portal before he transfers, like, that's going to tell me a lot. Or who knows? I mean, the portal could open and he could transfer day one. But
yeah, I was gonna say, if he's going to go, that's probably when he would go. I don't see, if that was the case, and these are the rumors, I don't see why he would drag it out. Pivoting back to the outside linebackers, I think that is a bugaboo for me, because I'm just not sure what's the plan here, because I clearly not a college football coach. However, do have 2 eyeballs, got 2017 vision, 2018 vision, not pretty good eyes. However, Anelu Lafele, pretty good player, made a lot of plays last year, couldn't touch the field. Thomas Heiberger made a lot of plays before his injury. Now he's an inside linebacker. Willer was on the defensive line, making pretty decent headway as a true freshman. Let's have him cover Tucker Ashcraft on wheel routes at 280 pounds. What are we doing on the edge, and why do we keep seeing? I feel like we see people be successful, and we're like, you know what? I got a better idea. Let's put you in a spot you haven't done before and see if you know that one too. I get the idea of being multiple, but can we just get guys that do stuff really good and really get them good at it?
Yeah, that's what, like, I agree with you. I feel like sometimes, and even the past couple of years, like, the defensive staff, like,
it's like positionless.
They try to out coach themselves. Where it's like the old KISS method, dude. Keep it simple, stupid.
You rush.
If these guys are producing where they're at, why are we moving them? Like, what are we doing here?
Like, I saw I mean, obviously we could say stuff about Jack and Malman, but Anelu was making plays in camp and never touched the field. Heiberger was making plays in camp and didn't touch the field. Willer, like, I looked back at his 2.47 just to make sure that I wasn't losing my mind. And they said that, like, he could be your prototypical 3 or a 5 technique, which is really big brain football stuff that I don't pretend to know. But that means defensive line. But why is he literally standing up with Ashcraft motions out from, being an inline tight end, and he's going out to cover him in the slot?
That's just bad coaching.
I get being multiple. I understand that people need to be able to, if they audible or flip plays, you got to be multiple. I get it. But sometimes, guys, you see ball, you get ball. You see
the thing
ball
is, like,
carrier, you drill ball carrier.
You need to recruit the players to be multiple then. Like, there's a difference between, like, a 3-4 defense and, like, a 3-4 multiple, where, like, you got versatile guys on the edges. Like, if you don't got guys who can play multiple positions, why are we asking them to do things that, like, out of their ability? Like, you're just putting them in bad spots, and, like, that's just back on, like, the defensive coaching. Like, I feel like they try to outcoach themselves, like, outsmart themselves sometimes, and, like, it's just keep it simple, boys. Like,
yeah, and I don't try to pretend like, hey, let's keep always talking about the previous regime. Although anytime you have a coach, you're always going to be compared to your predecessors. But, like, we know what Darrell Peterson is. He's a great player for us. Like, he does a lot of good things. Not pass rushing is not really his thing. But you look back at, like, Nick Herbig, like, run stopping, setting the edge, not always his thing. But he's gonna be in the backfield. He's gonna get to the quarterback. Like, can we find guys that do something really, really well and have them do that all the time? And if they get burned, they get burned. But I'd rather see Willer, shoot the wrong gap than to get burned. I mean, I know it was just fall camp, but to see him get burned on a wheel route to a tight end, like, nobody 280 pounds should be covering anybody in space. Like, I get. Come on,
unless you're like Everson Griffin, yeah, he played gunner. The defense
freak show talent. Like,
yeah,
I get it. Come on, guys.
That's where, like, That you know who we need to call to find guys like that? We need to call a guy named Jim Leonard. Oh wait, he was on our coaching staff.
Imagine him as DC with Grimes and Fickell.
Dude, I remember that report that came out where it was like, yeah, like Fickell's going to keep Jim Leonard as the defense coordinator. For that like 15 minutes when I thought that was real, this was probably the highest point of my life as a Wisconsin football fan. Oh shit.
My pants were so tight.
Yeah. Like
we'll leave the light on for Jim. The door is always open. I think at this, we managed to somehow go an hour, and so we got a little bit longer here than intended.
Standard.
Any closing thoughts here, fellas, before we get out of here?
Please just don't embarrass us this year. Like,
Yick.
I've been having this, and I'll leave it with this. There's a lot of players that have been talking about that 42-10 to Iowa. For the life of me, I promise I'm not just trying to be annoying and try to be a troll. I don't understand why that's the rallying point. Like, Iowa's a good football team. Is their offense great? Not really, but they got a new offensive coordinator. They're tried and true. They have the same head coach. They have stability. They're an NFL pipeline on defense. They're a good football program. I would be more concerned about getting your ass rang up 44 points to Nebraska, who hasn't been to a bowl game since 2017, and you've never lost the trophy in that series. So the team that scored more, a team that hasn't had the trophy, a team that literally did they rush the field for bowl eligibility at Nebraska?
Yeah.
That's
I
not,
so.
But it's the Iowa game on the road at Kinnick under the lights in a rivalry game that, like, in the last 9 prior to that game, we were 5-4 against Iowa. We were 9-0 against Nebraska. Like, why? I guess my lasting point is, why is the Iowa one the one that we're holding on to? It doesn't compute for me, and I promise I'm not trying to be a troll. I don't get why that's the rallying cry.
No, I don't get that either. I feel, to me, like, someone in the program like has had to put that into like the players' minds. Like,
well, that's what they're saying. Like, they keep talking about it.
Let's
talk about Nebraska, because that's
there was some coach who this Iowa game, like this was the defining moment for us. Like, who are you going to be? Like, I feel like that's what it was. So, I don't know. Also, speaking, I know we need to get out of here. It's an hour and 2 minutes, but just to quickly touch on it, I know we all saw it. That John Gruden speech for the boys this weekend, brother, you want to talk about pants tightening up?
Yeah,
dude, Daddy needed to shower after that speech.
I think that's actually the perfect way to end this, because I think that he is very clearly the big dog of the week.
Yes,
it's got to be Gruden. It's got to be Gruden after that.
And if he's looking for head coaching work, if we ever have an opening,
right?
Hey, just saying.
Yeah.
He's not into dreams. He's more about nightmares.
Dude, I was fucking ready to roll after that fucking
baby.
speed.
Goosey's on the skin.
We need intensity. 2%, 4%, 8%, 10%. I was like, oh my fucking God, coach. Like, what do you need me to do, dude?
Dude, I almost stood up off my couch and was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
what do you need me? You need me cleaning toilets? Let's get the program going.
I was barking at my fucking phone screen. Like, I was ready to roll, dude. The guy had me jacked up.
I think on that note, we're going to get out of here, and want to thank y'all for tuning in. If you've managed to listen past the hour mark, we know you're one of the real ones. Appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you back here whenever it is that we decide to do